St. Marco Rubio planning to travel to the Vatican to meet with Pope Leo.
Secretary Rubio's trip later this week comes after clashes between President Trump and the first American-born Pope over the Iran war and other U.S. policies. The Pope said his criticisms have never been directed at President Trump.
Fox's Gernal Scott, America is listening to Fox News.
Get more on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your trusted dealer serving Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas for over 50 years. With more selection, more value, and more finance options. Plus, your trade is worth more. Shop local and save more with straightforward pricing, plus exceptional service and selection. Your search ends at the Motor Mile. Choose from over 900 quality pre-owned vehicles, plus a massive selection of new car brands in Southwest Virginia. Honda, Hyundai, Toyota, Subaru, Kia, Chevrolet, Mitsubishi, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and now Buick. Plus, the used car superstore. 12 new car brands, 900 used vehicles, one amazing buying experience. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got more than any other dealer in the area. The Sheeler Motor Mile delivers choices. Here's the difference. Sheeler owns the finance company and makes getting approved for credit simple and easy on the Motor Mile. Flexible financing options for every budget to get you on the road fast. Get more on the Sheeler Motor Mile with a certified friendly staff and no games, no gimmicks. The Sheeler Motor Mile, now in Christiansburg, Radford, and Pulaski. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Summer, hot, steamy. 3 ingredients for an overheated truck. Overheated trucks is an all too often summer problem for diesel trucks. Don't let it happen to you. Go Wicked. Get your diesel truck service for less at Wicked Diesel in Bedford. Wicked Diesel is offering 20% off AC and cooling system repairs, plus oil change and tire rotation for 20% off. Go to wickeddieselva.com and print out the coupon. Go Wicked. Wicked Diesel, Bedford, Virginia.
Hey, small to medium business owners, if you're frustrated with slow IT support, high costs, or paying for services you just don't use, it's time for a change. Hi, I'm Colt with We Fix Stupid Computers. We provide reliable on-site and remote support tailored for businesses just like yours. And we go beyond just fixing problems. We empower your staff with real tech knowledge so they can work smarter every day. From repairs to training to full IT support, we save you time, stress, and money. Call We Fix Stupid Computers, 434-525-8590, where smart support meets real savings.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
Tons of exhaling happening all across the landscape, including NASCAR, where Chase Elliott got his second victory of the season yesterday at Texas. By the way, a detour.
Time to take a detour in the fast lane.
Do you remember back in the day, Trey may not, this might be before his time. I know I'm dating myself. Whatever. It's okay. Sports Illustrated, back when they printed the magazine and had quality work in the magazine format, had this week's sign of the apocalypse. Well, if they had one this week, it would be this week's sign of the apocalypse. I am actually not going to bash Texas Motor Speedway. I mean, Trey, with the look of shock over on the other side. At some point, you'll get to see his graphic. But Trey, I will double down. Texas, I clicked yes, along with 73% of the people in the Athletic.com's Jeff Gluck, who has a poll. Was it a good race? 73%, the coveted number. And Texas was a good race according to 73%. And I agree with them.
Yeah, like we talked about this morning with, I guess I'm going to call him my co-host for the week, Mike Neff.
Yes, co-host.
Yes. He's sort of filling a half of Ty Tracy's role while he's on vacation, deservingly so, I might add. So, you know, while we discussed, we thought it was a solid race. There were multiple grooves. You had tire wear. I mean, I think you had dramatic incidents. You had drivers make mistakes. Honestly,
side-by-side racing?
Yeah, I think it's everything you could ask for.
Multiple battles for the lead. It wasn't just follow the leader and then side-by-side racing afterwards.
Yeah, and I think at the end, the best car won.
I would concur with all of it. I mean, you could make a case at junctures. Denny Hamlin and Corey Heim were solid runners. Christopher Bell can't catch a break.
Yeah, and Heim led a lot of laps due to
strategy. But no, it was a good race. Shocking to a lot of people because I spent a lot of time bashing Texas, and yet, I mean, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Texas this year was better than a lot of the races we've seen recently at Martinsville and Richmond. Again, this week's sign of the apocalypse here in the fast lane.
After Ed's potentially unnecessary detour, let's get back on the road in the fast lane.
Speaking of Martinsville Speedway and Texas Speedway and tying them together, that's where Chase Elliott has won his 2 races this year in NASCAR. One of the most low-key, underrated things in the Hill City is Ivy Creek Park. Like, when you think of parks in Lynchburg, Peaksview Park comes to mind. When you think of parks in Lynchburg, Miller Park comes to mind. Lots of history there. Not all good, but necessary to know the context of the world.
Blackwater Creek Park, but that's because there's the dog park there.
Yeah.
And that's the only one I visit.
Look, it's great. We took our dogs there until we had so many dogs that it just got to be the same number of dogs and people in the house. That is true. I have 4 dogs, and my wife and I have 2 boys. So, not lying with that. Blackwater Creek Park, great one. Downtown, the new Riverfront Park or whatever it is, Riverside, Riverfront, whatever you want to call it, the one where they've got the amphitheater, where they had the International Festival this weekend, fantastic. And of course, Riverside Park. Some people don't like it. I love it a lot. I think it's great. Such a diverse group of people there. Love taking my kids there. We get to interact with so many cool people there from all sorts of areas of the Hill City, and I think it's a plus in that regard. But we have great parks. But Ivy Creek is the low-key one because it's tucked in behind the fire department over on Lakeside Drive, over by the industrial park area back there. So you don't think of it as a good park. But when you go there, you're like, man, it's got a lake or a pond, whatever you want to call it. It's got gazebo area. It's got a playground like so many of them in the area do. But not a lot of people think of it. Low-key. Kind of like Chase Elliott for NASCAR. Low-key. When you think of drivers that could win the NASCAR championship this year, Chase Elliott is low-key raced his way into that grouping. Tyler Reddick's the point series leader. He's been up front. Ty Gibbs has had some ridiculous bad luck. More on that later this week, so he's fallen a bit. But Chase Elliott's now 4th in points. Don't look now. And a lot of it is Chase Elliott's mentality that has enabled him to get to this point. One of the elements to them is, he won earlier in the year, and it gave him a lot of confidence. And a driver that some people think doesn't run with confidence, I go in a different direction. I think he just doesn't show a lot of emotion. And that level-headedness, first of all, you get a lot of that at Hendrick Motorsports. For every Jeff Gordon that was there in the early 90s, you get a lot of drivers like Jimmy Johnson's been there. Obviously, William Byron in our backyard, Chase Elliott. Good guys, by all accounts, but just not the same level of flair and personality. Kyle Busch was once there at Hendrick Motorsports. Obviously, he had his own personality. Casey Kane, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dale Jr. obviously has tons of personality. The voice of NASCAR, if you want to call him that, from an individual person. Not
NASCAR Jesus.
It's not a bad term. I don't like it as a religious guy, Trey, but as a Christian, but I get the analogy. I don't dispute it. Fans flock and treat him as such. But Chase Elliott, the Martinsville win gave him a springboard. And one of the keys to that is listen to how Chase Elliott addressed that. And now you get senses of emotion, but not an overload of it.
I knew it, right at Martinsville. I was like, man, we've never won a race this early, and much less to now have 2 this early in the year. I think is really I'm really proud of that, and I'm proud of our team for that, because anytime you can check off new boxes in this sport when you've been doing it for 10+ years is cool, and it's hard to do. It's hard to win, and so I'm really proud of our team for that, and just proud of the day that we had. It was I would say one of our strongest races that we've had in quite some time. When you look at just all of the different factors of the event, from restarts to pit road to race strategy to me behind the wheel, just all of it I thought was elevated and was really performing at a high level, and super proud of our team for that.
That's almost 50 seconds of Chase Elliott talking about his run. And there's a lot of value in perspective in what he said, as far as how his win at Martinsville has helped springboard them to run with more confidence as a team and be able to take an extra chance. And they did. And had the best card, you could argue, yesterday at Texas. Trey certainly made the point in the morning warm-up with Mike Neff from frontstretch.com. And we will do that with Kevin Nix of frontstretch.com a little bit later here in the fast lane. He and Dalton Hopkins were down there at Texas. But this was a really good performance. And part of what you heard from Chase Elliott as well is, he is the most popular driver in NASCAR. I wonder if Carson Hocevar, truthfully, is going to be able to usurp them. I think it was Tanner Marler of frontstretch.com who had the article up the end of last week. It may have been on is it the Friday Face-Off? Is that the thing that NASCAR that you guys do? Fire on Fridays is where either Damcott or Michael Massey will have an opinion piece. Hot takey, if you will.
Just Michael Massey.
Michael Massey has been the majority. Damcott did it last year.
Well,
But Michael Massey has taken the helm. He is the Fire on Fridays guy.
Tanner used to do Eyes of I honestly,
Whatever. He does the 4 questions on Fridays. That's what I call
questions.
4 question Friday. That's what I'm calling it. If Tom Bowles wants to get mad at me, he can chime in at Fastlane, Ed Lane, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But whatever. We're going with 4 question Friday for Tanner Marler of FrontStretch.com. So where I'm going with that and where we're going with that is essentially this. The question was the personality of Carson Hocevar usurping Chase Elliott as the most popular driver. I can see a path to it. Chase Elliott, ironically, he is the most popular driver in NASCAR because people loved his dad, Awesome Bill, from Dawsonville. And Bill Elliott showed tons of charisma in the way he raced and the way he ran. And people resonated with that. Chase Elliott is actually a lot different, personality-wise, from how he conducts himself from his dad. We played 48 seconds of Chase Elliott, 49 if you want to be technical about it. And Chase Elliott did not show a whole lot of oomph and emotion and fire. But the guy gets it. And for Hendrick Motorsports, they and Chevrolet were struggling at the beginning of the season. And Toyota has still consistently proven to be the more speed-based organization in the early going. You got to get victories and top finishes while you can because this stuff does ebb and flow over the course of the season. And Hendrick is not just going to stink the entire year. I'd be hard-pressed to believe that's going to be the case. Kyle Larson, we know has speed, even though he's very checkers or wreckers this year. Alex Bowman, 2 top 5 finishes. I don't know if it'll be enough to get him in the chase for the playoffs, but he's already done that. William Byron could get hot at any point. We've seen that, although ironically, he has been Liberty University driver. Started the year fast and then really faded over the course of the year. They kind of need him to do the opposite this year at Hendrick. But you factor that in with Spire Motorsports and Hocevar in particular, Suarez too, have been near the front. And Chevy is getting it together. But Chase Elliott's level-headedness is an asset when you are struggling. Because there are times where you need to light a fire under someone's butt, but there's other times where you know that your team is preparing hard behind the scenes. Everyone knows that. And when you have the right attitude and approach, all of a sudden, that helps your team, and it gets your team to where they continue to put in that work, which allows you to roll off to the track fast. Because there's that old saying, the battle is often won before the first shot is fired. I mean, in NASCAR, there are enough good teams that could win, so you still have to perform once the green flag gets dropped. But the ability to perform leading up to it does position you to perform better, as Chase Elliott noted.
A ton. I mean, I think it's always about, the effort and the conversations that go on during the week and during the weeks leading up to, the races and how that work is put in to our race cars at the shop. These races are certainly, yes, they're won on the racetrack and how well you execute and all those things, but you sure are hedging your bet a lot by how you prepare and what your car is like before it loads up in the truck.
What you do in that time. And Chase Elliott wisely elaborated on the fact that a lot of NASCAR success is not just that, it's the grinding away. It's what you see when people are not performing well. Because it's like here in radio land, if you want to call it that, content creation land. People, I could do what Trey does on the morning warm-up and Ty. I could do what Ed does in the fast lane. You could talk for an hour, sure. Could you do all the other stuff?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you think you can, please reach out to us. We are looking for interns. So.
We are. We would be delighted to have you. Fastlane, Ed Lane, or Trey Lyle VT to learn more about how you can jumpstart your career in media by joining our team. It's great for college kids, high school kids even, especially looking to get their foot in the door and get their taste of media over the summer. But the behind-the-scenes work is often where winning is really determined.
You can't emphasize that enough. Like I understand that. I don't know that a lot of people understand just how important that is to the overall performance, but it is a huge piece, and really fortunate and proud of everybody at Hendrick Motorsports for their continued efforts to just dig in, man. We have a gritty group back home that they just don't take no for an answer, and they'll just work. Whatever's got to be done, get done. Friday, Saturday, midnight, 2, whatever. They want to win, and boss wants to win, and we'll do whatever we got to do to try our best for that.
Gritty work, digging in, like that's where it's really made. Like Trey will tell you right now, that's probably the key differentiator. Like here at the Virginia Talk Radio Network is if you're not willing to grit and grind your way through it, you're probably not going to last very long here. Just keeping it out there.
Nope.
Both of us
just load. Well, for me, it's load myself up with enough caffeine to get through the day. You just have to drink water, and then
I drink a ton of water and go to the bathroom all the time.
Yeah, so whatever works.
Because that's what people wanted to know, and that's why they tuned into the Fast Lane to get that kind of info in detail. Meanwhile, speaking of detail, do you need somebody to pay attention and to give you attention to detail to your case if you're unfortunate enough to be in an auto accident? 777-HURT and TrostLaw.com. That's where you can find our friends at Trost Law who have been serving us for
not one, not two, not three, not four,
but over 4 decades, since 1982. As playoff series victor LeBron James would like to remind us. Trey Lyle was discussing that today in the Fast Lane and forgot that Michael Jordan played best 3 of 5 series, not best 4 of 7 series in the opening round.
I mean,
so
still,
as
I was stating, LeBron James at 41 is way better than Michael Jordan at 41.
By the way, time for another detour.
Time to take a detour in the Fast Lane.
Trey, I am blaming you for my day for one simple reason.
I hope it was a good day.
I mean, today has largely been a good day.
You have a case of the Mondays?
No, I have worse. If you want good music to be stuck in your head, go check out Rewind 1039 Lynchburg's Classic Hits. If you want ridiculous music to be stuck in your head, blame Trey Lyle for making me play this soundbite for what has been stuck in my head today leading into the Fast Lane.
And you got to say his name. His name is LeBron James. I'm talking about the man
on the Lakers. Oh, yeah.
I got to say,
I even had to sing that. It's so bad.
The whole parody songs, I think that might be that's like one of the best ones for an athlete. It's just, I mean, in fact, it did copy off like to a T, and it's the same beat as one of the greatest songs ever made, which you probably can hear
on Rewind 1039 Lynchburg's Classic Hits.
WLYH, which, yeah, I got it.
That is correct. You are right, Trey.
Yes,
it is now WLYH.
We have to remember that, Ed.
We do. I just know how to find it on the dial.
Yes. But ultimately, I lost my train of thought. Anyways, I just think that's just a great parody song. And I'm glad it got stuck in your head, which I played this morning. I also played...
I blame you 100%.
I got to play my Zaza Pachulia Game 7.
Oh,
Shout out to Worldwide Wob on Twitter, who always clips that. I took that from him because there was a lot of Game 7s.
There were a lot of them. Meanwhile, iconic moments, more on that in a moment.
After Ed's potentially unnecessary detour, let's get back on the road in the Fast Lane.
We get to discuss iconic things that have happened in...
It's time for Fast 5 at 5-ish. 5-ish minutes on 5 relevant topics done around 5 p.m.-ish. Ish? Because our counting skills are kind of ish. Let's start with number 5.
Wow, the Kentucky Derby. 2 elements to it. One of which is I am a sucker for these type of things, and I get it. Look, I'm as libertarian and probably more right-leaning than a lot of people would generally be, although there are areas where I can definitely nitpick, to say the least. But I think it's awesome that we had the first female Kentucky Derby winner and the second ever to win a Triple Crown race when Golden Tempo won, and Sherry DeVoe, the trainer, joined Jenna Antonucci, who trained Arch Angelo, of course you remember him, who was in the Belmont as the only women trainer of a Triple Crown race. That was the 2023 Belmont. And she won the Kentucky Derby as the trainer from a 20th, basically, let's go out of it. I don't know how many, because they had 2 scratches late, 21st to first run. Last second. Listen to the call from NBC, how late it was before you even heard about Golden Tempo.
Renegade is in behind that group. He's on the rail. He's got 10 lengths to make up. Has 6 speed into non-Perpeter 1-2 on the far turn. Mike Smith is so happier there to their outside. 2.5 back, and then down toward the inside comes Emerging Market as they make their way to the top of the stretch. Further Ado is getting going on the far outside with Commandment. They're both putting in their runs as they arrive into the final furlong. O'Sally is also gaining ground on the far outside as they come to the last 16th of a mile. Denon Bourbon in front. O'Sally a huge long shot. Renegade and Golden Tempo are closing too. Here's Golden Tempo. Golden Tempo and Cherie DeVaux make history in the Kentucky Derby over Renegade in a final time of 2:02.27 seconds.
That was a fantastic call on NBC. It wasn't until 35 seconds into that call before Golden Tempo's name even came up. That is how impressive it was. That last to first kind of reminds me of another iconic moment, by the way, which we get to in the Daytona, not the Daytona 500, the Winston 500 at Talladega back in 2000. Oh, this iconic moment.
Dale Earnhardt Sr. has come from 17th spot in 4 laps to lead it on the final lap. Kenny Wallace is in second spot, followed by his teammate, Joe Nemechek. Nemechek was the pole sitter, and Kenny Wallace has likewise never won a Winston Cup race. 3 Chevrolets on the final lap at Talladega. $2.7 million and $1 million bonus for Dale Earnhardt if he can hang on. The no ball 5 contender, Mr. Restricted Race, Dale Earnhardt comes down and will take his 10th career victory at Talladega.
His final victory, of course, because we know about the tragedy at the Daytona 500 in 2001 that cut Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s life short. He would have been 75 years old last week, but that run in the Kentucky Derby was reminiscent of Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s epic run and how he was able to come from 18th to 1st over 4 laps at Talladega to get the victory. And that's why you tune into the Fast Lane, to get horse racing and NASCAR comparisons. And why not just stick with the randomness in number 3, the French Open? We will get into greater depth as it gets closer, but Jannik Sinner destroyed Alexander Zverev 6-1, 6-2 in the Madrid Open final yesterday. He's minus 250, 260 at sportsbooks to win the French Open because Carlos Alcaraz is out with a wrist injury. Outside of injuries himself to Sinner, who's going to challenge this guy? Maybe Novak Djokovic. But outside of that, I mean, look, everyone thought it could be Arthur Fils, the Frenchman, and Sinner took care of him pretty quickly and efficiently in 2 sets. Rafael Hodar, who's this up-and-coming Spaniard, everyone thought Hodar was going to be the one, and yet Sinner destroyed him as well. Although the second set went to a tiebreak, it was a 7-love tiebreak in that. So when Sinner really wants to put the clamps down, he can. He's kind of like Novak Djokovic, and I'm a Djokovic guy, and I like Sinner. I'm not as big into the criticizing him for his doping bans because, although he clearly got special treatment last year because he got to miss 3 months, but a nice little leeway into the French Open and did not miss the Australian Open or any Grand Slam last year. That would not happen unless you're someone in that category. But, I mean, look, it is he and then a large gulf to everybody else. You might be able to find this out there. I did, but you can get about 2.1 to 1 odds for the Grand Slams this year to be won by either Sinner or Alcaraz. Carlos won the Australian Open. So even if Sinner just wins the last 3, I don't think that's a horrible projection. Like, who's stopping Sinner outside of health or he has an issue? Now, if he has a bad day, Novak could challenge him, but I mean, that's really it. Like, it is a chasm. Whereas women's is the other side. Women's will be fun, but I mean, I could put 15, 20 women that could easily win it. And I know it's best 2 of 3, but Sinner's been destroying everybody in best 2 of 3 as well. He's just that good right now. Meanwhile,
number 2,
Tyrod Taylor signing with the Green Bay Packers. And that's not even the most impressive signing this afternoon. Okay, yes, the former Virginia Tech quarterback is the one that resonates in our area. That's a guy that I love because he's found a way to carve himself out from stud college athlete to a guy who understands his role in the pros. He's been a backup in places like Baltimore, with the Jets, now with Green Bay. He'll fit that role really well. He's a wise, sage voice that can be in the room with Jordan Love and help Jordan Love, because Love is great on his best days, but he's injury turnover prone on his worst. I like this move a lot. But the bigger move of the day, of course, is the Philadelphia Eagles locking up Chief Vibes guy and Chief of Security, Big Dom, to a contract extension. I mean, why not? Of course. He is the man when it comes to security in Philadelphia. Every time you see a social media post of any Philadelphia Eagles player at any public event, he is always there. I have made it my mission that if I encountered a Philadelphia Eagle in some spot, not like this is likely to happen, but let's just hypothetically say it does, I would not want the owner, Jeffrey Lurie's autograph. I would not want a photo with Jalen Hurts or Saquon Barkley. I mean, with all due respect, I could care less. I cover athletes and coaches for a living. But I would want Chief Vibes guy, Big Dom, and to be in a photo with him.
He solves problems.
He does. He just knows how to get it done, makes things disappear. Meanwhile,
Number 1.
Virginia clobbered North Carolina in the ACC championship yesterday. We'll get into this more later this week. I thought the passing was immaculate from Virginia. A lot of it's a testament to the way they've evolved as a team. They are going into the NCAA tournament as a 5 seed. They'll have a home game against Georgetown this coming weekend. They have a lot of momentum, and they would either take on Richmond or Duke, which is, look, they have a first-round matchup at home. I know it sounds weird to say they're traveling to Newark, Delaware for a game where they could play Duke or Richmond much closer. That's one of those, hey, you might want to look at this NCAA. But I do get the value to that, if nothing else, in the fact that people don't realize this. The Final Four for lacrosse, which you can hear on the VTRN Sports app, Memorial Day Saturday and Memorial Day Monday itself, we'll have it on the VTRN Sports app. It's in Charlottesville this year, and they're not the number 1 overall seed. Princeton is, deservedly so. So because of that, breaking it up, I think there's enough value to say that if Virginia hosted a first-round game, was at home for the second round, and then the Final Four and championship were at their home venue, even though they play at Klockner Stadium and this one's at Scott Stadium, I mean, that's a ridiculously unfair advantage relative to the other teams, with Virginia not even being the number 1 overall seed. That is where I get more into that. Meanwhile, when we return, Jerry Sports app, Jerry Ratcliffe will chime in on that when we return in the Fast Lane on the VTRN Sports app, plus some JMU Dukes, and we'll talk a little Washington Commanders. Bets I'm thinking of making, predictions in some cases, since you can't bet on it, but you can predict. Read into that what you will. Candy Waller is going to provide sage advice as well next here in the Fast Lane.
Mark Dalton here with the Terry Auto Group. If you don't love your car, then you're simply just driving the wrong one. At Terry Volkswagen, Terry Subaru, Terry Auto Outlet, and the Terry Clearance Center, we've got the perfect new or used car for you. We make your car buying experience easy. Need help with imperfect credit? No problem. Our team works hard to get you approved and back on the road. Because when you shop at Terry, you drive away happy. Visit us at any of our 4 locations or online at terryautogroup.com. Terry Auto Group. You'll love our cars.
Hi, Gary the Third here, and I'm excited to say spring has arrived at Gary's Garden Center with great plants and a great selection. Gary's has seasonal color flowers along with vegetables, 60-plus varieties of herbs, perennial flowers, and much more. With friendly service and great advice, we are always happy to answer your questions. Visit Gary's Garden Center at 794 Leesville Road for all your lawn and garden needs. Stop by, say hi, and take a look around.
Lunchtime just got an upgrade. Stop by McAdoo for our $8.95 weekday special and grab a legendary sandwich at an unbeatable price. Choose from your favorite classics to Coney Island, Betty Bob, Ragtime, or Stogie. Classic sandwiches packed with savory meats and flavors in between fresh bread. Make it a meal by pairing your sandwich with a sidekick, a warm cup of soup, or crispy chips. Great food, cozy vibes, and the best deal in town.
It's time to share great food and fun. Just to be there, the only one. Just to be there at Market Dues.
We'll see you at the Dues.
Hill City. What a week of fun awaits at City Stadium. The Howlers ride into the weekend Friday at 6:30 with Harley-Davidson night. Then Saturday, a 6:30 first pitch on Star Wars night with post-game fireworks. And kids can get the I Love My Mommy storybook upon entry prior to a 2 p.m. Sunday start. Get your tickets at hchowlers.com and howl out loud.
The clock is ticking. Time is running out for Virginia citizens to purchase modern sporting rifles and magazines from Big Boys Guns. Beat the July 1st deadline. Right now, the selection is robust at Big Boys Guns. ARs, AKs, and the most popular handguns will soon be banned from sale in the state of Virginia. Don't wait. Visit Big Boys Guns before the inventory is gone and not allowed to return. Shop 24/7 at BigBoysGuns.com and in store on Route 460 in Blue Ridge.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
Bigger is better. Is that the theme for the JMU Dukes? That is what we discussed right now in part one of
It's time for your teams and topics. Covering the Commonwealth, a look at teams and topics from around the Commonwealth. Let's start with the JMU Dukes.
Shane Metlin of DNRonline.com is with us here in the Fast Lane. Caven Riley, the Delaware transfer, 6'4" guard, committing to the JMU Dukes, and he's produced as well, averaged about 12.5 points and 2.5 rebounds a game in 2024-2025. Redshirted this past year, but overall has that on his resume. You build into that the addition as well of DeMatha guard Ashton Ace Meeks, who's a 3-star who's committed to the Dukes. Shane, a pleasure to be speaking with you in the Fast Lane. Will bigger be better for JMU men's basketball in the backcourt this coming season?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, JMU's kind of, settle maybe isn't the fair word for it, but, they've wound up taking some smaller guards here the last couple years in the transfer portal that, guys who've been able to produce for them offensively especially, but it has left them small at times. I think back, just 2 years ago when they had a fairly good season, they did have situations where, you've got a 6'2" guard kind of guarding the 3, the small forward spot, just because those were your offensive weapons. And, now if they can get good offense from a guy like Riley, from a guy like KJ Wyndham coming from Northwestern, you do have a little more size and athleticism at those 2 and 3 spots to go against some teams with a little bit bigger backcourts.
Shane_DNR Sports, Twitter, and DNRonline.com are the ways to connect with Shane Metlin, who's with us here in the Fast Lane. Shane, when people think of the success, whether it's JMU basketball or JMU football, Matt Roan, the former athletic director, his name comes to mind. But Jeff Bourne, recently inducted into the National Association of College Athletic Directors. I think it's technically College Directors of Athletics, but whatever. National Association of College ADs Hall of Fame. How much is he underrated, and do people forget about Jeff Bourne, who had 25 years and really was the key catalyst to the Dukes having the foundation that Matt Roan was able to build on?
Yeah, I don't think people in Harrisonburg. I forgot about Jeff Bourne. That's for sure. I don't know. Maybe outside where, when they make the college football playoffs and some things, he wasn't still the AD, but, definitely had his footprint on how they end up getting there. He'll never be forgotten in JMU. He was there for 25 years, and, he was a guy who took heat because they didn't make the jump to FBS in 2013, like 2014, that situation when ODU and a lot of other schools were making that move. But it ended up paying off so huge for JMU that they waited. They got the arena built. They waited for the ideal conference to jump into, and everything ended up working out perfectly. And, they've seen some of their best days because Jeff Bourne and the plan that he had as an AD.
Shane Metlin with the perspective we need in the Fast Lane. Shane, last one for you, looking ahead. We've touched on the ACC Men's Lacrosse Championship earlier. We'll ask you about the American Women's Lacrosse Championship, which the JMU Dukes won for the second consecutive season. The Lady Dukes, the way they played, what kind of momentum does that give them heading into their matchup against Notre Dame in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I mean, it gets good momentum. They ended the season very strong, and it was, almost – you could classify it maybe as a rebuilding year. It was the first year where they didn't have just a really dynamic goal scorer coming back for the women's lacrosse team at JMU. They kind of ended up finding those players later on and in the season and winning some big games to get in that situation. And, they're going to have a tough road in the NCAA tournament. They got to beat Notre Dame and then turn around. If they do that, then they have to beat Northwestern just to get out of that first weekend. But, they did put themselves in position to get to the tournament, which wasn't a given even just a few weeks ago.
Shane_DNR Sports is where you can keep up with Shane Metlin, who's joining us in the Fast Lane. Shane, always love when we can catch up. We are grateful for your time and appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Now to the Virginia Cavaliers.
JerryRatcliffe.com is where you can go to get Hootie's insight. As Hootie joins us here in the Fast Lane to discuss the Who's. Hootie, a pleasure to be speaking with you. Number one point guard, men's basketball, Virginia getting the attention and offering him. 4-star dual threat quarterback from Pennsylvania, Virginia offering him in football. These are the type of players that Virginia might have struggled previously to even attract. How much is, yes, the Virginia experience part of that, but also the reality that this is a positive indicator of Virginia playing the NIL game and diving in heavy to that?
Well, I think they have the war chest now, Ed, so they might as well flaunt it and see how far it can take them. All these guys you just mentioned, and then a couple more are really highly ranked guys, and mostly the classes of 27 and 28, but still, you land one or two of those guys and you can help recruit around them and build your team. And, a lot of people are saying now, why go after a high school recruit if he's not somebody that can come in and impact your program pretty quickly? Because, you spend hours recruiting guys and tons of money, and they may choose somewhere else, and you can probably get somebody just as good in the transfer portal. So I think it's a game that Virginia is learning to play.
JerryRatcliffe.com founder and contributor Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe is with us in the fast lane, and he has touched on that element for the Virginia Cavaliers. Speaking of paying to play, so to speak, Tony Elliott with a new contract extension. Is this the right balance of rewarding him for a good season but not going overboard the way that some programs do, Alabama with Kalen DeBoer, where you wonder, is this just an agent ploy? It seemed like Virginia, to Carla Williams' credit, and we've criticized her often, but to her credit, they gave him an extension, but it's not an overkill.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right about that. I don't think Virginia is going to pay any coach, crazy money like some of the Power Four programs do, and I think Elliott's okay with that. I mean, it was almost $1 million raise and plenty of bonuses if he gets the job done again. And some of it was a reward for last season and taking the program to new heights, and part of it is probably some security because a coach that can win 11 games in a place that has struggled for the last several years is going to attract the attention of some desperate ADs out there looking for somebody to do that same thing with their program. And particularly if you do it twice, if he can have another really good season in 26, I'm sure a lot of people would have come knocking on his door. And so this is one way of tying him down to at least 2030.
JerryRatcliffe.com founder and contributor Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe. Hootie, it's easy to nitpick at times how Virginia has handled goalie and lacrosse, although Merrick was phenomenal in the ACC tournament and has really been good over the second half of the season. How much of Virginia's success during that run is attributed to the fact that, Lars Tiffany, and you go back to last offseason when they brought in Connor Schellenberger to help with the offense and in particularly helping with the passing, which was fantastic against Carolina yesterday in the 16-6 victory. All of that is coalesced to a Virginia lacrosse team that they're now in the NCAA tournament. And, if they win a couple games, they might be essentially hosting, not at Klockner, but at Scott Stadium, the side of the Final Four.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. Bringing in Schellenberger was a big help. One of the most prolific scorers in Virginia lacrosse history, and their offensive coordinator. They essentially changed their offense during the off season, and it has shown up. And he's taken a lot of advantage of the two Millen brothers, who are two of the more dynamic offensive guys in the country right now. And then Merrick, on top of that, sort of pennies from heaven, because they didn't even, when he came here and asked to meet Lars Tiffany and ask him for a chance after he transferred from Air Force, Tiffany wasn't even sure he wanted the guy on the team. Now, after he came in and got acclimated, got off to kind of a rough start. He's been one of the huge keys in Virginia's turnaround. If you go back and look, when Virginia is 8-2, when Merrick has had at least double-digit saves, and that's huge because they were 3-4 at one time and struggling. and having him back there, just repelling shots, has been. They wouldn't be here without him. That's for sure. Now, like you said, they can beat Georgetown Sunday night, and then one more game. They're in the semifinals on the Scott Stadium turf, which they played a game on this year. So it's certainly a home field advantage.
Hootie, a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you for going all around the Who's with us today and covering the Commonwealth.
Great to be with you, Ed. See you around, brother.
Indeed.
Now to, just for you haters, left hand up the Commanders.
Yes, Candy Waller, Madam President of Bowie TV Sports, with us here in the Fast Lane. Seawall, great to be speaking with you. Are you on Brandon Ayuk watch for the Washington Commanders right now?
I'm actually not. I mean, if it ends up happening, if John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan say, sure, we'll release him and not get anything back for him, absolutely. I would be, all in on the probability of him coming to Washington. But it just sounds like right now that John Lynch is not willing to let Brandon Ayuk go for nothing.
So we're at a standstill, essentially, and that's why we're waiting and waiting and waiting to see what happens. Meanwhile, for the Washington Commanders, regardless of that, I may or may not like to throw a couple of shekels down. It's not a big thing for me in terms of potentially making some recreational bets on what might happen with the team. The Washington Commanders, I'm very tempted by the idea of over 7.5 wins. I don't think this roster is necessarily the deepest in the NFL, but they made enough improvements. And if Jaden Daniels is healthy enough, we saw what he could do a couple of years ago. Am I nuts, or is there a really good path for Washington to be a team that gets back to 500 or above that and is contending for a playoff berth as well?
I mean, I think the Washington Commanders can absolutely, if you're just looking at all the rosters across the division right now, I mean, yes, they certainly got younger, which means that speed is there, that physicality is there. So they can absolutely be a contender for the playoffs if we're all just looking at it right, straight up and down now. Absolutely 100% they could be definitely playoff contenders.
Do you see a path where this team can make a deep playoff run, or is it more you want to see how they look if they were to get to the playoffs?
I mean, I think it's probably kind of gauging and seeing even before the playoffs, it's like, how are they measuring up and stacking up against the division? We always know that the key to making the playoffs is winning the division. So if they can come out blazing right off the gate, going ahead and getting ahead of beating the division opponents, I think they have a very strong chance of making it deeper to the playoffs.
Madam President, Candy Waller of Bowie TV Sports, with us here in the Fast Lane. The other one that's kind of jumped out to my mind is, I mean, there are other candidates, but Patrick Mahomes is coming back from an injury. People have seen what Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson can do. Do you see a path where Jaden Daniels, if he's at full health, we could get a year like we got out of 2024, and he's in contention for an MVP race, especially because, I mean, it's a good roster, but their ability to go deep toward or maybe even deep into the playoffs would be contingent on how well Jaden Daniels plays, and he's capable of it.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, Jaden Daniels, we saw that the year, which was a historically just amazing, great year for him in 2024. And I'm so certain no one, wants it more than he does of wanting to get back to that level and even more than that. And it's probably so many other quarterbacks across the league right now who came in with him, right? So you're looking at Drake May, who made it all the way to the Super Bowl, but lost. Caleb Williams, who didn't have the year that Jaden Daniels did, but had an excellent second year. I'm sure he has a chip on his shoulder. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys measure up against some of those veteran vets in the Lamar Jacksons and the Josh Allens, both of which have a ton to prove as well. And it will be interesting to see how this NFL MVP race goes, with Jaden Daniels definitely potentially being at the top of that conversation.
We know how the insight measures up from Madam President Candy Waller and Bowie TV Sports. It is at the top when it comes to the Washington Commanders, right along with Trey's guest, I believe tomorrow in the morning, warm up from 7 to 8 a.m. Lake Lewis, slated to join Trey Lyle. They're at the top in our list, and we appreciate yours, Candy, joining us today in the Fast Lane.
Thank you all so much, and I'll be talking to you guys again soon.
Madam President with us here in the Fast Lane. When we return, part 2 of covering the Commonwealth, the Hill City Howlers, and then NASCAR and feuds, plus the Virginia Tech Hokies. playing their way to the NCAA baseball tournament. All of that still to come on the VTRN Sports app, and ask that smart speaker open VTRN Sports.
Here we grow again at the Sheeler Motor Mile. It's here, the all-new Motor Mile Chevrolet and Buick in Radford. More brands, more selection, and the same exceptional service you expect from a trusted community partner. Whether you're shopping Chevrolet or Buick, you'll find quality, value, and a team that puts you first. From rugged trucks and SUVs to stylish cars and family-friendly vehicles, the Motor Mile has something for everyone. With straightforward pricing and top dollar for your trade, there's no better place to buy. Bring us your trade, new or older, paid off or not, and see why your car is worth more on a Motor Mile. Plus, with more inventory arriving daily, now is the time to shop the Motor Mile. Sheeler owns the finance company and makes getting approved for credit simple and easy on the Motor Mile. Flexible financing options for every budget to get you on the road fast. Experience the Motor Mile at 3 convenient locations: Christiansburg, Radford, and Pulaski. For over 50 years, we've got Southwest Virginia covered. The all-new Motor Mile Chevrolet and Buick in Radford. Certified friendly staff. No games, no gimmicks. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at MotorMileChevroletBuick.com.
Summer is a time for sunshine and growth, but even in life's brighter moments, things can still feel overwhelming. At Central Virginia Counseling, we provide professional support when you need it most. This summer, prioritize your well-being. Our experienced counselors are here to help you build resilience and move forward with confidence. Take the first step today. Visit centralvirginiacounseling.com to get started. Central Virginia Counseling, where courage meets compassion.
Hi, I'm Randy Trost with Trost Law. We've seen a lot since 1982. One new issue is an increasing number of uninsured drivers. Unfortunately, when these drivers are at fault for an accident, there's a higher likelihood that they'll flee from the scene, leaving you with a potential mess. So in shopping for your auto insurance policy, please keep in mind that strong, uninsured motorist coverage can protect you from this headache. And if you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident, call us at 777-HURT and visit trostlaw.com.
Hi, Gary the Third here, and I'm excited to say spring has arrived at Gary's Garden Center with great plants and a great selection. Gary's has seasonal color flowers along with vegetables, 60-plus varieties of herbs, perennial flowers, and much more. With friendly service and great advice, we are always happy to answer your questions. Visit Gary's Garden Center at 794 Leesville Road for all your lawn and garden needs. Stop by, say hi, and take a look around.
The clock is ticking. Time is running out for Virginia citizens to purchase modern sporting rifles and magazines from Big Boys Guns. Beat the July 1st deadline. Right now, the selection is robust at Big Boys Guns. ARs, AKs, and the most popular handguns will soon be banned from sale in the state of Virginia. Don't wait. Visit Big Boys Guns before the inventory is gone and not allowed to return. Shop 24/7 at BigBoysGuns.com and in store on Route 460 in Blue Ridge.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
I mean, are we having that type of effect already in the Fast Lane? Find out right now in part 2 of...
It's time for your teams and topics. Covering the Commonwealth. A look at teams and topics from around the Commonwealth. Let's start with
the Hill City Howlers with Jason Pro, broadcaster for the Hill City Howlers, with us here in the Fast Lane. Last week, we were skeptical about the Lynchburg Hillcats. Virtual swear jar right there. I need to get one right there. The Lynchburg Hillcats. I need to beep it out when I say it. The Hill City Howlers, relief pitching. And then Keegan Zinn, 3 innings, 1 hit, 5 strikeouts during that time. He allowed no runs, no walks. He was fantastic on Saturday night in the 6-3 victory against Delmarva. Jason, can Hill City Howlers fans exhale now that it looks like they're starting to see some guys assert themselves as relief pitchers here in the early portion of this season?
Yeah, I think they can, Ed. I think this is a good opportunity to showcase some of the young talent, some of the young arms that the Howlers have coming out of the bullpen. Guys like Zinn, not a lot of people were talking about him coming into the season, but I was talking to the coaching staff before the start of the year. They all mentioned, hey, this is a different pitcher than what he was a year ago. He's more confident. He's a little bit more, I don't want to use the word cocky, but he's a little bit more he's got some swagger to him, and he's got a willingness to challenge guys, a willingness to go after guys. And early in the year, he was starting to he got a little beat up because of that mentality and because of that attitude. But now he's starting to find his groove. He's starting to find his rhythm. He's settled down. He's slowed into his role, and he's going to be a guy that is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And there are some other arms in that pen that are going to be really, really good as the season continues.
Is it reasonable to say, when the Hillcats are winning, the bats are firing, they've been really good and they were fantastic at Delmarva. It's still that consistency that has eluded the pitching staff better, but not quite where they need to be in terms of top to bottom with starters and the bullpen.
Yeah, I think it's hard because you have so many different arms, and obviously the affiliate wants to see guys pitch, and they're on innings limits, and they have to hit their certain number of at bats and a pitch count. So there's all these different metrics that get played into why you're seeing guys in certain days and why some guys are pitching even though they're struggling and things of that nature. But I do think consistency is going to come. I mean, the Howlers have played maybe the hardest schedule in all of the Carolina League, having played Fredericksburg once. They've played Hickory as well. Those are the two top teams in the Carolina League North. And so they've had a pretty tough schedule to this point in time in the season. And they're going to be challenged again this week with Fredericksburg. So we haven't really had an easy week. Delmarva was a little bit of that easier week, and they took care of business. So I think you're going to start to see a little bit more of that consistency as the season continues and as some of the lower level teams, not lower level, but lower end teams in the Carolina League start making their way through town.
All right. I'm asking an interesting question, especially for people that are looking to go over to City Stadium for any game in this Fredericksburg Howlers series coming up this week. Are there basically two taco type days? Because there's Cinco de Mayo tomorrow, and then there's actually taps and tacos on Thursday for the Hill City Howlers. So is it basically doubling up on what's an awesome concept anyway?
Yeah, this is going to be a really fun week to be out at the ballpark. Obviously, with Cinco de Mayo tomorrow, I know they have a lot of fun things planned to try and make sure we're celebrating that appropriately. But then also on Thursday with Taps and Tacos, that's been a really good promotion over the first couple of homestands. But even when you look up and down the week, there are some really fun activities for fans throughout at the ballpark this weekend. You're going to want to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. And the Fredericksburg Nationals, they have a lot of talent. And I know there's probably a decent chunk of Nationals fans in the area, being only 3.5 hours from D.C. It's a chance to see their top prospects as well. And they're right now sitting atop the Carolina League North, and they're one of the best teams in all of single-A baseball. So they're coming to town. They got a lot of interesting names, a lot of top prospects. It's going to be a really fun series all the way around.
It will be fun. We look forward to it as well. As Jason Prill, their broadcaster for the Howlers, with us in the Fast Lane. Jason, you're JazzPrill19, Twitter and Instagram, and we are always grateful when you are with us here in the Fast Lane.
Absolutely. Anytime, Ed.
Now to NASCAR.
Kevin Nix of FrontStretch.com with us here in the Fast Lane. Kevin, great to be speaking with you. I'll go with the is it just me? Is it just me, or have people underrated the fact that Chase Elliott, who's got 2 wins on the season, has really provided a steadying presence for Hendrick and Chevrolet, as it took them a while to get going this season, but that low-key vibe for Chase Elliott seems like it's paying big dividends.
Yeah, he's been both extremely consistent and really fast. I think it's the earliest that he's ever gotten 2 wins in a season in his entire career, or if it's not, it's extremely close to that. He's been the best Chevy driver this entire season, bar none. And I was at Vegas too, and he almost won the race at Vegas too, like 3 or 4 more laps, and we could be talking about Elliott, the 3-time winner. But yeah, he was very convincing victory yesterday at Texas for Elliott.
It's big for him. How big is it for Hendrick as well? They've got 2 wins on the season. We know Kyle Larson can get a victory as well. And William Byron and Alex Bowman in particular, Alex Bowman has had 2 top 5s. Are we at a point now where Chevrolet and their top teams, Hendrick and I guess you could say Spire this year, are getting to the point where they can contend with Toyota on a regular basis?
Yeah, well, I think a rising tide lifts all boats, and we have seen, like I said, especially the last few weeks, that Chevy's been running a lot better. They've been a lot closer to the front. That overall, they've been showing more pace. Obviously, like Reddick is still on a planet by himself, but like you said, Elliott's he's carrying the torch for Hendrick right now, and that speed is contagious throughout the organization. Because, like you said, Bowman's been running a lot better. Byron, obviously he's fun, but he came back and I think he almost got a top 10 as well. So they got more speed for sure. They definitely do. that gap is shrinking between them and Toyota.
This is the question on which you will be judged for all future appearances going forward, Kevin. Are you on Team Priest or Team Ty Gibbs in this feud?
I'm going to say Team Switzerland here. I am not commenting on that. What I will say is that, am I surprised? Based on the replay, am I surprised that Priest did what he did? I am not surprised. I'm not saying he's right or wrong, but I'm going to punt that question, to be honest with you. But, with Priest and Gibbs, that was something else. I asked SVG because I know he said on the radio, he had a great view of it. I asked him after the race and he declined to comment.
That's what we get. Well, we appreciate the journalistic efforts from Kevin Nix with us here in the Fast Lane from frontstretch.com. Kevin, we won't completely hold it against you, but the correct answer is always pro Ty Gibbs here in the Fast Lane. You'll learn more as you hear more from your Front Stretch colleagues and ask them, and they'll tell you how irrational I can be.
Oh, of course. No one will get me up to speed for sure.
Oh, he definitely
will.
will.
Tell me the ropes.
Just don't listen to him.
Oh my gosh. That's where we're going. Anyway, we appreciate the time of Kevin Nix here in the Fast Lane from frontstretch.com.
And last but not least, or maybe least, the Virginia Tech Hokies.
David Cunningham from techsideline.com and the Real D Cunningham on Twitter and Instagram is with us here in the Fast Lane. David, DeMarcus Brown, wide receiver, Northcross, one of the top recruits in the Commonwealth of Virginia, flipped from Virginia to Virginia Tech over the weekend. I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill, but is this a big deal in the sense that this is a James Franklin move of announcing he and his staff on the recruiting trail against the Virginia Cavaliers and against other schools, including Penn State, ironically, that have often come into Virginia and poached top talent?
Yeah, Ed, great to be with you. He's a 4-star recruit according to the 24/7 composite rankings. He's a 3-star by most of the services, but the biggest thing is that he was UVA's top-ranked recruit in that class. And James Franklin and Fontel Mines and this staff have kind of been recruiting him since they arrived. He committed to the Cavaliers in December, and then a couple months later they flip him. And Ed, to your point, I think it goes to the bigger picture of what James Franklin is here to build. He's not taking anything from anybody. He's going in there and he's going to recruit his way, the way it worked so well at Penn State and was even pretty successful at Vanderbilt before that. He has a way of going about doing things and selling a vision, selling a program. And let's remember that James Franklin is one of the top recruiters in the country. I think it's been a while since Virginia Tech has really had any momentum, true momentum on the recruiting trail and had really good recruiters. I think Brent Pry had momentum in certain instances, and the Hokies had recruited pretty well at times, but not a lot of that talent has necessarily panned out. But I think you're seeing James Franklin come in and immediately start to build up some momentum. And at the end of the day, Virginia Tech has never really had a head coach that is a true recruiter. James Franklin loves selling. He loves selling Virginia Tech, and he's spending 5 minutes around him tells you exactly that. That's what he loves to do. And I think you're seeing it already. You're seeing it pay off. And this is one small commitment. DeMarcus Brown, yes, he's a really talented player, of course. But there's going to be many more of them like this, I think, where you're going to see Virginia Tech beat out Virginia or even beat out other schools for big-time recruits and win those battles that it didn't necessarily win before. And that's what happens when you prioritize recruiting with a coach a little bit more. Not to say that that's what all Franklin cares about, but recruiting did not matter as much under previous coaches. It matters a lot more now, and you see it immediately, DeMarcus Brown and the commitments I'm sure that will follow over the next couple of weeks.
The Real D Cunningham, Twitter and Instagram, techsideline.com. We are at W227BG Timberlake, WVGM Am Lynchburg, WMNA Gretna Danville Southside, the VTRN Sports app, and Fast Lane, Ed Lane, and Trey Law VT on the socials and however you listen to us that way. You mentioned DeMarcus Brown. Do you expect the dividends of that being felt immediately for the 2027 recruiting class from Commonwealth of Virginia prospects who are going, oh, if he's willing to flip, maybe I should consider Virginia Tech more seriously and might do the same?
Yeah, I think so. I think you'll see it a lot. And not just in this recruiting class, but in ones to come. I think it all goes back to the product on the field, though, Ed. And I think you will see in the 2027 class, it'll start to come to fruition a little bit. And you'll see guys like Brown go, hey, all right, I like what they're building here. And keep in mind, when DeMarcus Brown committed to Virginia in December originally, the Cavaliers were gearing up to play in an ACC championship game. Virginia Tech is a long ways removed from having played in an ACC championship game. And yet here we are. And every situation is, of course, different in terms of individual recruits. But I think that if Virginia Tech and James Franklin can kind of string wins together, put proof of concept together, and given his recruiting history, you're going to see this become a lot more common. And not just beating out Virginia, Ed, but look at some of the other guys they've gotten commitments from recently. These are high priority targets, guys that they want in the boat, not just, hey, these are the best guys in the Commonwealth of Virginia. These are the guys we want in our program. Hokies are going out and getting them, and they're taking them from other schools. In this case, it just happened to be the Cavaliers.
Pivoting off of football with David Cunningham of TechSideline.com, who's with us here in the Fast Lane. There's a great article. I know it's a couple days old, but Dylan Teff wrote a great article. It's still worth reading. Contextualizing Virginia Tech baseball's NCAA tournament bubble status. How is that impacted by taking 2 of 3 at Cal over the weekend?
I think it's a huge step in the right direction, Ed. Hokies needed to win the series, and they did. In all honesty, I thought they played an okay Sunday game. Griffin Stig maybe wasn't his usual self, but they showed it off really well in these first 2 games of the weekend. You hadn't really seen them have the opportunity to clinch a series sweep on Sunday all year. They've really been kind of going into that Sunday with a rubber match, and you need to win it to win the series. In this case, they played really well Friday, really well Saturday. Brett Renfroe looks like one of the best pitchers in the ACC, and it's a couple starts in a row now where he's looked like the guy that Virginia Tech fans, I think, remember from the last couple of years when he has been on. He is terrific. And Lozen, and they got some big help from the offense on Friday and Saturday. The pitching was good on Saturday as well. They're stringing wins together, Ed. They played a really, really difficult schedule. And that's what Dylan outlined in his article. I thought was terrific. And it showed that they can't afford to lose this series against Cal. And they didn't. This is a Cal team that has been hot, mind you, very hot. But the Hokies, man, they've won 9 of their last 12 games now, and they are on a roll. If they go into this final weekend and take 2 games from Clemson in a couple weeks, because, of course, they've got exams and whatnot coming up, they finish 500 in the league, and they've got one of the toughest strength of schedules in the country, and it's going to be very hard to keep them out of the NCAA tournament.
That's a big sign of optimism for the Virginia Tech Hokies, as David Cunningham has projected that with us today here in the Fast Lane. David, last one for you, and we greatly appreciated. Number 3 seed in the ACC tournament, but they are just run-ruling teams left and right. How poised are the Lady Hokies in softball to do damage in the ACC tournament?
I think pretty well. It's funny, Ed, they were looking at the 5 seed, maybe the 4 seed going in. They've got a double bye, and they're the late game on the second day or third day of the tournament, excuse me. They've got a double bye. They're the 3 seed. They're playing night. They're going to end up playing UVA, likely, a team that they already played really well against this year. But, Ed, the way that the Virginia Tech softball team continues to go out and handle business is very impressive. And don't get me wrong, they've had a couple of setbacks here and there where they have not necessarily played their best. That weekend against Georgia Tech and that midweek game against Liberty, those, you circle those and you might be looking at that when NCAA tournament comes around the corner. But at the same time, they have an opportunity here to do something that they haven't really done before under Pete D'Amour. They have been really, really, really good under D'Amour for a very long time now. And they've won ACC regular season titles, and they've been in the super regionals, and they've been so close from the Women's College World Series. But the one thing that they've struggled with is the ACC tournament. They've never really captured that momentum in that event. And they go to a place that they're very familiar with, Charlottesville. They got to play the tournament at UVA's campus. And the Hokies will probably end up drawing the Cavaliers. And I think it'll be a really, really interesting challenge to see if they're up for it. Because over the last couple of years, they've kind of slipped up down the stretch. They haven't been terrific in the ACC tournament, and weather has sometimes played a factor in that. But I think what they've been able to do especially on the offensive side of the ball, Ed. And they are hitting it very well right now. If they can continue to keep that up and mix up the pitching as well as they have all season, I think they're as dangerous as any team in the ACC. But it's one of those things where we saw just a couple weeks ago, they're a little bit vulnerable at times. If one team gets something right with them, they could be in some trouble. So we'll see, but big time week coming up for the Hokies on the diamond.
No doubt it is. I am excited for it. I know David Cunningham of TechSideline.com is, and that is where you should go to get your insight. David, thank you for joining us today in the Fast Lane. We greatly appreciate it as always, and look forward to maybe hearing you with Trey later this week. He'll figure out what he's doing later. He's got a couple days to get that figured out. But if not, it'll be Andy Bitter, and it'll be just as good. Either way, it's good because we appreciate the insight from TechSideline.com.
Much appreciated. Talk to you soon.
Indeed. David Cunningham, TechSideline.com, with us here to wrap up the Fast Lane. That does it for us today. Now on to Freddie and Harry for a brief moment, and then we got some NBA playoff action this evening, and plenty of NBA and NHL the next couple of days. VTRN Sports, Facebook Live, and YouTube for replays or Fast Lane, Ed Lane, wherever you listen.